What is one thing people call failure that you will call freedom?
Divorce.
That's a good one.
What is that like in Kenya?
What? Is this where I am? Is this what I've done with my life? I'm 44 years old. I've not subscribed to the society because for me, society is really phantom.
I'm Maalika. This is the SFU podcast, of course, alongside
My name is Sam Kanja. Yes.
Sam Kanja.
Yeah.
Yes. And our guest today is Tazim Elkington. Now, she's a certified hypnotherapist and transpersonal regression therapist. She worked in management, she worked in the hospitality industry, and she also, after all that, climbing the ladder, going to the top of the top, also then worked as a waitress. And I like to call it service industry professional.
Yep.
Yes. But what was that like, Tazim, just as we dive into it? Was it a failure for you?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't because that was a second job. I had by then found myself in the real estate industry. And my job entailed speaking to people on the phone and emailing. And I had no human contact. And so I asked my daughter, who was working, as a waitress at that point because she was in uni. And I said to her, can you speak to your boss? And can I have two shifts? And she says, are you out of your mind? And I said, no, I need 2 shifts. I want to meet people. I want to talk to people. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen with me because I do need that human contact. And so for me, it was not a failure at all. It just added to what I needed at that point, and there was no, it wasn't a drop or something wrong or how shameful as most people would think.
But how did you get the courage? Most time, it is the children that ask for their parents for help in getting a job. Now this time around, it is you asking your daughter. How did you get the courage?
It didn't matter. We knew what was going on.
Okay.
I'd had a period of 10 months of no work after 9/11. And it had been a really tough time for the whole family. So there were no secrets. You couldn't sweep that under the carpet like a lot of families sweep a lot of stuff. And if she had, I asked her because she was working there, had she felt uncomfortable, I would have walked up to the place and asked myself. I asked her because it was convenient, and I didn't feel that there was anything wrong with that.
Okay.
So this was Canada. This was post 9/11 in America. This was a very different time, of course, that everybody was living through. Before this, you'd had director level roles, general management roles. You've been working for over 20 years in lots of high level positions. And can you set the stage for us? Because at 17, you left home and your whole trajectory of your life switched up.
So which part do you want first?
What did you put in the bag at 17 when you walked out the door?
What I put in the bag? I put the few clothes I had, a towel, toothbrush, and that was it. I mean, I didn't have that much. And when I decided to leave home, humor always helps. So I chose April 1st to move out.
As an April baby, this gives me goosebumps.
So, I left a note and I said it wasn't an April Fool's joke. And I left home. And before that, what I'd done was I'd already started working at UTC in the Hertz car hire department. And I met a lady there who introduced me to another lady who had a space. It was more like an au pair thing where she used to travel a lot. She worked for an airline and she asked me if I'm good with kids. And I said, yes, I'm very good with kids. And I said, I don't have that much money. I earn very little. I just started working. And she says, okay, then do you like to cook? I said, yes. So she says, okay, so you'll do most most of the cooking, and you'll be taking care of this child over weekends whenever she comes to me, because she was divorced. And I said, that's fine. And she says, and I'll give you room and board. And I said, okay. And so that's how my April 1st joke came about, or not joke came about. And so then I moved in with her, and the reason I left, there were a lot of reasons. Now they feel not as relevant. At that point, they were so important, and I had to do that. I didn't fit in with my stepmom. It had been many years. I didn't feel I wanted to stay in that one lane of that one culture and their traditions and the religion. I felt that there's a whole world to explore. And at 17 and a half, I felt like I was so able to go out there and discover, and I had all the strength and the courage, and I had no clue what the reality of life was when you go out there.
Yeah.
And there are many, many surprises and many shocks, not just surprises.
So not many young people will have the courage to leave their comfort, to go to a foreign land, where they don't know anyone, and you have to go there and start again. So most people will stay in an uncomfortable situation just because of the fear of unknown. So how did you gather that courage to just decide?
So going to Canada was way after.
Okay.
When I left home, it was right here in Nairobi. And I stayed in Nairobi. I stayed here from the next 25 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Honestly, 17, we still think now in hindsight that I was a child. I was just a baby. When I look back at my 17-year-old self, I'm like, I didn't know nothing. And to think about leaving this cocoon of comfort, of family, of parental supervision, of a home and that routine, like I cannot even imagine how much courage that would take to do. And what I can believe is that that must have been the only choice your younger self saw at that point.
Yes. Absolutely. The only choice was, do I stay and carry on and possibly have, some imposition?
Yeah.
Be it, I have to follow a certain lane, or I have to get married, or, because that's what happened. I was 17 and a half, nearly going on 18. And it was like, there's a backstory to it, because my mother left when I was 3. And I had lots and lots of challenges as I was growing up, and lots of changes in scenarios that, there was no stability per se. It was movement. It was living in homes that I had nothing to do with. So I was put in different places. And so I think with that backstory, it was like, okay, is this what you want to carry on doing? And do you want to follow the road traveled, or do you want to go out and discover the whole variation and diversity of humanity? I mean, I probably didn't use those words at that point.
Okay.
And I knew it wasn't going to be easy. But then up to then, my life hadn't been simple anyway. So I said, it's better that I chart my own path and challenge life, and then at least I am where I want to be, rather than anyone else deciding for me. It wasn't an easy choice, but it seemed so. It seemed like, yes, like you said, it's what I needed to do.
Okay. And so 17, left home, started working in Kenya, worked here for 25 years, went up the ladder, and then moved to Canada, yes? So everybody would think that early on, that move out, some would think that was an F-up, some would think that was a failure. But what was that one moment in your career after you made that choice when you felt like vindicated. Like, look at what I've done,
Yeah.
even though you thought I messed up.
The one moment was, I distinctly remember it, as I was making a coffee. And I was like, oh my goodness, now what? Is this where I am? Is this what I've done with my life? I'm 44 years old. And what now? And then the real voice came up. Now, that was the voice of doubt, right? That's the voice of doubt that we all have. And the other voice came up and said, listen, you got to write this and it'll show up. The good stuff will show up. This is not the first time. It's happened so many times. So this is what you have to go through. Look at the state of the world. Look at how many people have been made redundant with 9/11 happening. Airlines have shut down. People have lost jobs. People have died. People have lost family members. I mean, look at the devastation. And what is this little thing that you're feeling right now because you're making a cup of coffee? And boom, that bubble bust. It bust right there, and it was like, okay, let's wait for the next moment. And the next moment meant not the next moment, but let's wait for the next situation. And we'll come through.
Interesting. So for you, do you feel like your childhood and your younger life conditioned you or prepared you for that chapter?
Yes. And I mean, before I came for this podcast, I was editing a chapter in my book, which will come out, I'm trusting, by next year. It was about, one of the things that we have a big issue with, when what you were saying, Maalika, was, the cocoon that children grew up in. Not everybody, not all the children, but some children grow up in this comfortable cocoon with everything provided for, with everything laid out, and parents doing stuff for their kids. And I found that people who even come and do therapy with me, that they didn't know that life would have challenges. They didn't know that life would get tough. And most of the time, parents shield their children from that. And they get shielded, and they don't know how to deal with challenges. And when challenges hit your face, because they will, regardless, how many have you seen since you stopped being 18?
Right.
Right? And so when this happens, people don't know how to deal with problems. So, yes, my story and the fact that I had to deal with it from a very young age, even though I didn't know what I was dealing with most of the time, it was just that things happened and we moved on and we moved on. Nobody talked to you and said, by the way, your mother left because, or, we took you to somebody's house to live in their house and you didn't know them because. Nobody shared anything. There were no discussions. So as a child, I made up all the stories in my head.
Yeah.
And in those stories, there was probably the story of, I wonder why my mother left me. And, was it because of me? Because that's what all children do. Yeah. So I think all of those, that trajectory led to the fact that, there will be problems in life, there will be challenges in life, and I've got to learn and I've got to know how to deal with them. So the backstory, and I didn't fit into the conditioning. There are boxes of conditioning. I didn't fit into any of those.
And now you, as a parent, have you rewritten that chapter?
In what way?
In like now, when you're raising your daughter, for example, did you prepare her for, that life is not going to be all rosy always?
Remember, it took me all these years to get there. When I had my children, I was only 19 and 21.
Wow.
I was still wet behind the ears. Okay. So I didn't know what was right, was wrong. This is experience that's got me here and got me to understand a lot of these things in decades, right? So what I did with my kids was I didn't want them to have a narrow way to live. I wanted them to live large and with more openness and with more possibilities. I still didn't get it right. I don't think any parent gets it right.
Yeah.
And where I thought I was offering more freedom, most likely my kids felt that I ought to have given them
More restriction.
more. So you see,
Like, don't do that. That's bad.
So what I realized, as much as I wanted to be the different parent, and give them more space, and I was still Kali, and I was still, I still wanted them to follow certain disciplines. But I realized, no, we're carrying so much baggage from generations and culture and religion and so many layers that it's so not easy to get it right.
Okay.
And because I was playing the role of both mother and father, I think I got it pretty mixed up as well. And anyone who's listening out there, when you decide to be a single parent, it's important to understand that you cannot be both, because it's just not possible.
Yeah.
No matter how much capacity you think you have. And I was young,
Yeah.
so I thought I had a lot of capacity and I had a lot of,
Fire.
I was ballsy, but no, you can't fit or be able to play both roles. It's not possible. So whether you get, a surrogate, a friend, a brother, or several that play that surrogate role of the other parent, which we didn't have at that time. I didn't even understand it. It's not possible for one parent to be able to play both roles.
I agree, because my mother. I'm a child of a single mom. Yeah. My mom got me when she was just 16, so she really struggled as well in terms of having a father figure, getting mentors, and all those things. So it's something that I did not know that I needed that. She needed that to have that person to support her. I realized this when I was old enough. When you start to, I think in the morning we're talking about self-audit. So when you start to self-audit and you think about some things that maybe are trauma or are from the past, or where some things are coming from right now, is when you realize, this could have been the issue. So I totally agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
And I think parenting has its own fair share of mess-up moments, especially when you're navigating the initial shock of the fact that you don't realize when you are in that period of planning for the baby that your entire life structure will shift and will shift forever, right? Because it's like, then after, so once, he gets into his sleeping schedule, then I'll have time to go back to my workout. No, it's all going to keep happening. You're going to have to keep juggling, I think, for a lifetime, essentially.
Yeah. There is nothing like when or if. It's life keeps happening. You can't stop life, right? And I think also we need to reconsider this whole single mom or single parent aspect. And this is something I've been realizing in the last while. The only reason is I think people single parent anyway. Even when they're together.
Yeah.
Even when they're together. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it's such an important point, is that most couples don't actually discuss parenting styles, finances, what they want to do. What they do is they want to talk, they may talk about the bigger car they want to buy and the bigger house they want to buy, okay? But they actually don't talk about what is really important. When they have a child, what kind of parenting do we feel we are going to provide for this child?
Yeah.
Or what are we going to do with our finances? And finances create a whole lot of crap within relationships.
Can I just pause you right there, because that's so important, the finances. And when people are thinking of a pivot like you had in your career, for example, it was brought about by, let's say, 9/11, a macro event that you had no control over.
Yes.
But sometimes it's the micro, it's the internal stifled feeling people have, but they've got 3 mouths to feed at home and they're thinking, where's the money going to come from? So when approaching that kind of pivot in a career, right? How would you advise somebody to think about it? Or what are the first things they should consider so they don't go ahead and face a massive F up down the road in that scenario, since you've been through the whole trajectory?
I would say that people have got to be conscious about what's important
Okay.
and how to prioritize. What do you prioritize? Is it always money? Is it your dream, your passion, your creativity?
Okay.
So each person, we can't have a generic response to that because everybody's operating at a different level. And so one's got to prioritize what is important and what really matters to them in order to create the criteria around that. Realizing and really remembering that not everything is in their hands. There are external circumstances that can blow it all up. And what I would say is, in terms of finances, whatever one can do to have a couple of months worth in the bank to kind of cushion
Tide you over, yeah.
that would be really something people need to consider. You know, you have 6 months of money in the bank that can help you if some things blow up in your face.
Okay. But the issue and the common issue is when you have a partner and finances are always, an issue. So you'll find that people are not easily going to disclose about finances or have that discussion, about how do we define roles, or how do we save together? Do we save differently? And we've seen even now in the government, they have unclaimed financial asset because one partner did not disclose what they were doing or what property they have. So what do you think the mistrust come from especially people who are partners?
That's because they haven't discussed it even prior to getting married or getting together. So if couples want to be together purely out of convenience, it doesn't work. Before a couple gets together, and this is what I say to a lot of people, before you decide to move in with someone, because marriage is also losing its kick, even though there are, we're still encouraged to do that. So before you move in, before you commit to a relationship, go for therapy, go for counseling, sit down and have clarity on what each person's priorities are, what your joint priorities are as a couple, and how you're going to feed the relationship. Because what happens is when people get together, they forget to feed the relationship or nurture the relationship. And then the relationship falls apart. People cheat. I mean, we know this. I don't know whether they cheat or they just go out and have other relationships, okay? And that breaks the trust. So we don't know how to build and nurture trust in relationships, because once it starts, it's the physical attraction to start with.
Yeah.
And then when that kind of wears out as well, it's like, okay, so what next? Now, do I want to stay here? Do I want to get out? And then it's too convenient sometimes, and sometimes it's very difficult, and sometimes the person doesn't have courage, right? So if these things are discussed beforehand, now if you speak to Gen Z, they'll say, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
I'm not discussing any of this because I don't know if this relationship is going to last all of 3 minutes.
They're all about situationships now.
Yes. So it's going to last 3 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So why do I need to go through all this trouble? However, as they get older, as people get older, okay, so they want some stability. And then you have that other aspect of having children. You have to have these agreements beforehand. Not trial and error as you go through life, because that's what our parents did.
Yes.
That's what our grandparents did. We can't repeat those patterns.
So the point is you need to be deliberate from the start.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I've heard of relationship contracts now as well, where people,
Wow.
outline the specifics when a certain issue might crop up, how they'll deal with it, or like, I'm going to see your mother these many times in a year, and that's it. Such stipulations. And I feel
Is it something new, or is it something? Because
feel
I
like
know
we're heading towards
maybe our generation will frown something that can be frowned upon. Because
the corporatization of it all.
exactly, yeah. So is it something that is new?
It's definitely a new age technique, I would say.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't know about sitting down and drafting all of that. But learning from that sort of scenario where you were married very young, like you said, you had kids at 19 and 20?
21.
21. You had 2 children. And then you faced the whole divorce process.
Yes.
What is that like in Kenya?
I think that says it. Sound language works better sometimes. Yeah. It was very, very tough. It was tough because during that time, firstly, because I was a brown woman that married a colored man who was half black and half white. So I'd already cut through some stuff. And then I was divorcing that same man. And it was very tough because it wasn't mutual. I had to leave because the situation had gotten completely out of hand. It was not just discomfort. It was violent. It was abusive. And interestingly, I think he's still in denial. So 30 years later. And so it was very tough. And I had serious challenges. Plus, I had 2 teenage kids that were going through all sorts of reactions due to that. They had seen and observed all of this, so already they'd been affected. But then having your mother and father divorcing when most of the other kids still had both parents at that point. And then from the legal aspect, it was tough because files would disappear, and then we'd be in court, and then, lawyers would be changed, and it was all very, very tough.
Okay. How about the society? I know society will say you need to stay for the kids, and we've seen a lot of women go through a very abusive relationship just because of the kids, or how the society will perceive them. How was it for you?
See, I've not subscribed to the society because for me, society is really phantom. It's about people will always talk. People will always, you can't stop them, right? So I had to decide whether it's my life or not. And I think way back, I decided this is my life. I will live it how I want. I will make the best decisions I can in any given moment that may not always seem the best decision in hindsight, but in the moment, that's what I had. Yeah. That was my best, right? So I didn't realize to the extent that people who used to come and eat in my home every week and call and whatever, all disappeared.
Wow.
Okay. And I said, okay, so this is the consequence. Where I thought I may have had a support system, I didn't. So I had to come to truths with that. And so it was a very tough period for me. It was very, very tough. It was very painful. It was, I think I even got upset with myself a lot because why did I make those decisions? Why did this have to turn out like this? That's life. Then you've got to come to terms with it.
Interesting.
I think from your story, what we've seen is, from early childhood to the career phase, to building the career and restarting the career, to relationships, you've overcome so many hurdles and what, like you say, society is phantom. What society would have termed as a big issue or a big failure, you have turned into the next milestone and the stepping stone to the next point. And I think that's a big one. And while you're doing that, you're telling yourself a story in your head. Yes, we tell ourselves a lot of stories and narratives about how things are happening and how we perceive them is impacted by that. So how can you differentiate between the story you're telling yourself is a lie, it's hindering you, and okay, this is actually helping you?
So, in matters of the heart, it matters of whether it's career, whether it's relationships, whatever it is, what I would do is I would look at the facts, the tangible facts, so that I wouldn't be caught up in a narrative of a victim or of a bullshitter, because there's no other way of putting it. And I would ask myself whether I'm creating a story or whether these are the facts. And what are the facts? The facts are A, B, C, D, and now I have a choice to stay, to go. To stay, to go. It's always those choices. Is it okay for me to stay? No, it's not. Then I must go. And that has run through all of those scenarios you're talking about. And being factual is really important. Mostly people will cover up and sweep things under the rug rather than be factual, because that's how we're conditioned. Don't look at the reality.
Yeah.
Look at what people are going to say,
Yes.
what people are going to think, how it's going to affect your reputation. Goodness, whether there's hell or heaven, when we die, are they going to say, what did other people say about it? So let's be realistic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I really love that so much. What about after all this is done and dusted? Are you going to be asked, hey, what did your neighbor say about that when you came home at like 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
What did they have to say? And, speaking of, take us through one person, one organization that came to you believing one thing was wrong, but eventually discovered the real issue was somewhere else. Because now you've been consulting with different organizations, different individuals in your work now, right? How are you helping, keeping on clarifying these sorts of things for the people you interact with?
So if anyone comes to me to ask or say that something didn't work, I am very open to that. Why didn't it work? What didn't work? And we can have that conversation. However, because I operate from a very, very deeply intuitive place, I can foresee that now or in the last decade. And so I approach things from the place where I take enough time to get to know who I'm dealing with, be it an individual, a couple, or an organization, so that I am not caught up doing something that's not going to work for them. And so I don't just walk into stuff. I really prepare on the basis that I know what I'm going to deal with. So mistakes will happen. What we don't differentiate, and it's something that I've discussed in the last 2 weeks with 3 of my clients, and it's interesting, it's showing up here again, is the difference between what someone does that's wrong, and even though I don't subscribe to labels, but wrong, and what's a mistake. There's 2 big differences.
Okay.
A mistake is when you don't know. When you do something wrong, it means you knew and you still went ahead. It's like that spouse that's cheated and said, I'm really, really sorry, it'll not happen again.
It was a mistake.
And then they do it again,
Yeah.
and they do it again, and they keep saying, I'm sorry. That's not a mistake. So anybody who's listening out there, please, that's not a mistake. That's an intentional, created idea in one's head that they are going to use their private parts with another person. There's no other way of putting it,
There's
right?
no other way to
Well,
say it.
actually, I could be quite rude, but I'm not going to be. I could be quite straightforward. But that's not a mistake. And how many people buy into that? So going back to your question, which was over there,
Yeah.
people need to take a little bit, a step backward, just a step backwards to see, okay, what do I need to do with any particular situation? Not just go about it ignorantly. You've got to be cognizant. You've got to be creative. You've got to be conscious, because every word, thought, action people must understand that there are consequences to this.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go about doing what the heck you want. There are consequences. So if you don't, for example, you pissed off with one of your parents, and for good reason, okay, but you can't treat them like shit, because without them you wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of estrangement going on. I'm experiencing it myself. Okay, and I'm like, you know what? Is it necessary? Is it important? And how long are you going to do this for? So people must understand the consequences of their actions and their words. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I think we are going to jump into the quick fire with Sam in just a moment. But before we do that, so as a tail end, the tools you need to be very intentional, to be very cognizant, to truly see things from a perspective that is objective, to make correct decisions, is something that I'm sure you have come up with over time. Like, I read that, of course, you are big on meditation, and that is a good tool for you as well to see things clearly. Can you walk us through the importance of that practice, developing that practice, and other things that people can use to keep sharpening their objectivity, their intentionality when it comes to approaching their life and decisions?
And I think maybe I can add another thing. I know most of our listeners and viewers sit with failure. They sit with failure, they beat themselves so hard, but you are a true testament that it can be overcome. So with all this, and what Maalika is saying, what also practical ways of pivoting and overcoming, the moving on from failure, and not calling it failure, but pivoting and, moving on from that.
So I'll answer your question first. Yeah. Meditation is, if I hadn't learned to meditate, I don't think I would have survived life. And why is meditation important? So there's 82,000 types of meditation in the world, or more.
82,000.
Yes.
Wow.
There's so many different types. I went and I tried different ones, and TM worked for me because it is the most effective, effortless technique. You sit there for 20 minutes. It doesn't matter if the thoughts come or go. It doesn't matter if the mantra comes and goes. You sit for 20 minutes with whatever shows up.
So that's timed meditation.
Yes. And twice a day. My practice is longer because I did the advanced course while I lived in Canada. So it's an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the evening. So that keeps me really grounded. So
I have a question, and maybe, sorry to cut you. Most people say that when you meditate, you spend time with yourself.
Yes.
And most people are not comfortable
With
spending time with themselves.
Completely, Sam.
Yeah.
Completely, because that's what I was coming to next.
Yeah.
My post last Sunday was, I don't do busy.
Mm-hmm.
So people have lost track completely of time and space. Everybody is so busy, and when you're not busy, you're so busy scrolling that you have no breathing space.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are running on overdrive, overstimulation. None of these things help, okay? There's good parts to social media. And if it wasn't for social media, I wouldn't have found,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here right now. So there are pluses and there are minuses. I think it's important for people to also understand, there's the famous question about how do I have work-life balance? Excuse me, it's not work-life, it's life-work. Work is secondary, life is primary. We've lost the point. So it's really important that people look at their priorities and what really matters, okay?
Okay.
So apart from that, exercise, eat healthy. People are not eating healthy. People don't have time to move. So when you look at all the aspects, and if you look at it from the 4 aspects, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, those are the 4 aspects that one needs to have balance on. Okay? And how you find it, it's very personal. Going back to your question of failure. Is it failure really, or are these life lessons that we go through? And I think that's what's helped me to keep moving and not getting stuck. Not that I didn't grieve the loss, not that I didn't lose the loss, not that I didn't feel completely distraught.
Okay.
I have been through that. This is human. We all have the same emotions, right? We have to go through it. I think what helped me was not to stay there and not to wallow and not to make myself a victim and to pull myself out and say, okay, this has happened, and we move on.
Yeah.
So pick yourself up, dust it off, and move on.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that you suppress the emotions. You go through the emotional waves of whatever it is, because it can hurt. It can feel awful. Losing a relationship, losing connection, losing all your money, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All these things affect us. We're human. I think rather than look at it as a failure, I look at it as an experience, as a life experience.
Okay.
And what have I learned from it? And how do I move beyond it?
Interesting.
So I trust that answers your questions.
Yes, it does. It does. I think we've come to it was a very insightful session for me. I feel like I was having a therapy session.
Yeah, you and me both.
And I've learned a new term today, TM, time and meditation.
Time meditation.
So I think that has been my key takeout. It's okay to pick yourself up and don't stay there. Don't wallow. It's the word that you used. So that's interesting. I don't know if you have anything before we get.
I think for me, my takeaways, first of all, my new favorite saying ever is going to be society is phantom. You come at me and tell me, what will people say?
Society.
It's phantom, okay? Leave me alone.
My teacher used to say that people's opinions are just onions to spice up your life.
That's a different
So
one.
you can saute them.
Yeah, I can say them. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, and I think one of the greatest takeaways for me is also that, like you said, when you're on the journey and whatever might be perceived as a mess up, down the line in hindsight, built you up anyhow, right? It came in handy. Like if you had not seen the side of the service industry that you did post 9/11 and having to come towards this industry as opposed to the high level roles you had occupied, I think your understanding of that situation affecting humanity would have been different, right? Which affected how you emotionally connect or how you empathize as well. Yeah. So it's just layers. The onion layers also keep building up and up in life. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Tazim, to have you. And we have a rapid fire
Yes.
now.
So, quick rapid fire. So, freedom or security? Which one has cost you more?
Freedom.
Okay.
Always.
What is one thing people call failure that you will call freedom?
I would call what people say that again. For
What
me,
is
please?
one thing people call failure that you will call freedom?
Divorce.
That's a good one. What is one success habit you think is overrated?
That your title matters.
Interesting. Okay. Finish the sentence. I know I am wearing a mask when.
I know I'm wearing a mask when I'm not being truthful and speaking my truth.
Interesting. What is harder for you? Asking for help or admitting you are wrong?
In the past, both. Today, both are getting much easier.
Okay. Which version of you will be the hardest to coach? The 17-year-old, the executive, the woman starting again, or the therapist?
I don't think I'm coachable.
Like none.
Like I don't think I'm coachable only because I coach myself every day.
Okay.
So, and I have to do that because if I don't do that, I can't do my work.
Okay. This is interesting. If you could hypnotize one phrase out of a Kenyan workplaces, what phrase will disappear?
Hang on. I haven't understood that question fully.
So, if you could hypnotize one phrase out of a Kenyan workplaces,
So like commonly used
common use in
lingo
lingo.
in Kenyan workspaces, like what
This is how we
what's
do
a
it
common
here.
one? Yeah, or like this meeting is going to run for 30 minutes. No, it's not. We know it's not.
One phrase that okay, now I get it. Sorry, it took me a little bit longer. Profit before people.
Profit before people. Okay, that's a good one. Why? I'm just curious.
Because people are more important than the profit. If you take care of your people, the profits will come.
Yes.
But we're still operating on the 20th century model of profit before people. We're out of date. We need to get into the 21st century.
Okay. Interesting.
Sorry, to divert slightly, I think that also speaks to the kind of high turnover rate we see in a lot of industries in Kenya.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, so, 30 minutes after you resign, they've already moved on.
Yeah.
I agree with that because I manage 1,200 young people and I have an attrition rate of just 5%. Wow. That's low, especially within our industry. So that's considered low. Why? We prioritize on the people. So we have very many activities that support the young people. We give them the best work experience, environment. We listen to them. So I agree with you on that one. Another one. What is the quickest sign that someone is lying to themselves?
You've got to watch their body language, their eyes, and you can tell. Someone can either fidget, someone can not give you eye contact, somebody would turn away, and the best way to know is to ask them, whatever you're asking them. You know when somebody's lying. You can feel it. And if you can't feel it, then you really have to work on your intuition. Okay. And you have to work on your sensing part. And most people are quite switched off on their sensing part.
Interesting. And what is one red flag people should notice when choosing a coach, a therapist, or a guide?
Super question, and I love that that's come up as well. Rather than one thing, my suggestion is that people ought to interview their therapist.
Okay.
And to ask them the same questions they would ask at an interview.
Okay.
Why the person is doing the work, what got them into the work, how much work are they doing on themselves, and what makes them want to do the work? If it's just a job, that's not a good reason. If it's just because they got certificates, that's not good reason. And so I say to clients, please interview your therapist. Interview 3 therapists. Ask them the questions so that you're clear on whether you're a good match.
Interesting. Maalika, I have a question for you. So if you choose a surgeon that is doing it for the money and another one that is doing for passion,
Yeah.
which one would you choose?
A surgeon.
Yeah.
What are they operating on?
It's a life-saving surgery. So one is doing it for passion, another one is doing for money.
I mean, definitely the person with the passion, I would think. But I mean, they should have the qualifications too, right? Like it can't be, hey, I like tweaking.
No,
with
he
these,
loves his job.
stitches
He's a surgeon. He's
Yeah.
passionate. But the other one is he say, I'm doing this for the money.
But is he going to admit that to me though?
No, you know very
You
well.
can just tell.
Yes.
So you know
one
how I
is
can
passionate,
tell?
another one
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
another one is driven.
To be honest, genuinely, I would be able to tell this by the number of tests they call for, because the people who are in it for the money, especially in the medical industry, they will do a lot of unnecessary tests to rack up the bill. So that's one way to figure out this guy's doing it to have a higher claim when the insurance has to pay. And secondly, how much time investment are they truly giving you, and how present are they when they're speaking to you?
Okay.
You know, those people who are just like, oh, okay, let me just write this shit, go get this done. When you come back, we'll see. And then there's the other person who sits and takes time to understand, what are your symptoms? What are you feeling? When did it start? It's common practice in both, but you can tell by the difference in attitude who's there for what.
Okay.
And I would definitely choose the
Passion.
engaged one, you know? Somebody who's explaining to me.
You're changing my question. But someone
Yeah.
said that the one who do it for the money is a better surgeon
Why?
because of their reputation.
But that's a
We're back to
fallacy, isn't it?
society.
That's the sales.
That's a fallacy, isn't it?
It was a trick question.
Yeah.
Last question, sorry. Finish the sentence. At this point in my life, I'm still learning dash.
I'm still learning every day that life will not be the same.
Wow.
I have something to add to that. And what are you unlearning every day?
Unlearning, I still have some shenzi behavior that shows up
Shenzi behavior.
every now and then, even if I've worked on it and then suddenly somebody can trigger and it shows up and I'm like, shucks, you're still here. What am I going to do with you? And I've got to work through it.
And I also engage in that type of behavior sometimes, and it's like, why? You got over it. You learned this lesson. What are you doing? And it's a good goalpost to kind of check yourself.
As long as we're breathing and we're here, the work doesn't stop on oneself. And we're not here for anything else. Because remember, we're born, we're going to die. What do we do between birth and death? Most people are so busy scrambling for more, acquiring and stuff. What they don't realize that, first of all, you're not going to take any of that stuff with you.
Yeah.
And secondly, how much do you need? And thirdly, you're going to die. And so if you're going to die...
You say that, so you're going to die.
Grim Reaper vibes.
It's the reality.
Yeah.
So how much stuff do you need? And why have we been put on this earth?
Yeah.
Whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a Hindu, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. The ultimate is that we're here to grow spiritually. And spiritually, we've already lost the plot. Okay, so
We're a lost cause.
if we don't get back on track with our spiritual growth, there's nothing else we're going to take.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Wow.
Only our spirit is going to leave. So my suggestion to people is, hello, you don't have to follow something you don't want to follow. Find a way of growing your inner essence, because that's ultimately the reason why we're on this planet.
All Wonderful.
from my perspective.
Wonderful. That's a very beautiful way to wrap it up. Yeah, you soak it in.
Just absorb that
Yeah.
and keep it with you. And truly, as much as I'm finding the humor also in the way Tazim has described a few things, I truly feel like that's the key of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So as you watch us, as you listen, as you absorb this conversation that we've had, thank you, Tazim, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Sam, alongside me here.
Yep.
We've really garnered quite a bit, and we hope you have as well. Because no matter how many F-ups come about in life, or whoever deems those as F-ups, it's the learning you take from it and the constant remembrance of the fact that this is temporary. We're going to end this journey at some point, we all are. But along the way, let's keep pushing ourselves in a positive direction. So thank you for joining us. Subscribe, follow, like, share, and tell us what you think in the comments.
And society is a?
Phantom! Comment Phantom if you really feel that as much as I do.
It's a
Thank
wrap.
you.
Thank you.